Is a show. Welcome to a special Wednesday, Bloody Wednesday edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. This is going to be a show. So, obviously, by now, if you're listening to the show, you already know that there's been some goings ons today that went down, and there's really no easy way to broach this topic without pissing somebody off. Um, it So a bunch of people got released. I think that's first and foremost what we need to announce, and that certain other talents were furloughed. Now, before we get into all the hoi polloi of what happened, who happened, and all that, we have to point out one very specific thing. A talent or employee with a contract usually can't be furloughed if it's a per date contract. So, like, if you get paid every 15th of the month, you cannot be furloughed because as soon as you miss a payment, the contract is null and void. If you get paid, if you're on some type of contract where you only get paid for the work you do, you can be furloughed, but at that point, you're also technically still unable to get work elsewhere because you have an active contract. So, there's going to be a lot of misinformation about all of this stuff. A lot of the talents that were let go, be it producers or in ring, essentially all said the same thing, that they lost their job. A announcer was furloughed. He went out and in fact of the matter said, yes, I was furloughed. So outside of him, everyone else is pretty much saying that they lost their job, that they were let go. So I don't know how many of these talents have been actually furloughed. None of the on-screen in-ring guys can technically be furloughed. So if you see a wrestler's name, they're not going to be, brought back, 9 times out of 10. Maybe one of them or two of them might be when it's all said and done, but a lot of these guys were unhappy. And a lot of these guys were let go as, essentially their time. You think about a guy like Kurt Hawkins or Zack Ryder, they're not exactly names that you see a lot of substance in terms of long-term viability in. So, like, if you were to come up with a list last night, hey, if you were going to release 10 guys who really don't have any positive effects on the roster, who would they be? A lot of these names would be on that list. And then the rest of them are filled up with guys who have been wanting out for a long time. So the names aren't surprising in that regard. I would have been more shocked if, like, a Big Show or an Undertaker, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns was released. But, most of these names, we either thought would one day be released very soon or we thought could be released. So I'm not really all that surprised. The most surprising one, I think, is Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud. Mostly because he was still pretty fucking active. So it's Spud and Kurt Angle, I think, are the two biggest ones. But we'll get to those eventually. So, Marcus, here's all the names on the talent list that got released. By the by, I'm Chad Porto. He's Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Better than a lot of other people today.
Yeah.
Or at least.
So, Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, The Clubs, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Rusev, No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, Mike and Maria, Bennett Canales, Aiden English, EC3, Leo Rush, Eric Young, The Colones, Eric Rowan, NXT. We have 4 NXT talents. One of them I just saw. Deanna Parazzo, Alexander Yaksik, MJ Jenkins, and the new one I just saw is Josiah Williams, as well as referee Mike Chioda. And then the producers are Kurt Angle, Lance Storm, Mike Rotunda, Sarah Stock, a.k.a. Sarah Del Rey, Dave Finley, Shane Helms, Pat Buck, Sean Devari, Scott Armstrong, and that's a new one, and Lance Storm. Now, a lot of these, like, the talent, you kind of, I don't worry about that. Like, talent gets cut. Like, it happens. You don't have a guaranteed contract. You get 90 days, sayonara, so long, see you later. But the ones that hit me the most are the producers, because this is where you expect to have job security. Pat Buck was running WrestlePro. Now KM is running it, but I guess Pat Buck's probably going to retake the seat, if you will. But he was running WrestlePro, had a very successful development training facility at WrestlePro that he was the head coach of, and he got a lot of guys into the major spotlights. I think Anthony Nese may have come out of there. I know KM came out of there. Falaba came out of there. So he started to get a reputation, and he got signed. Lance Storm, he trained Tennille Dashwood, and I think he had a hand in training. What's Zack Ryder's girlfriend's name? Crazy chick, Laurel Van Ness. Is that what it was?
Green, Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green. I think that was another one of his. So Storm had a pretty decent reputation in training town. He also has like a bunch of like indie talent that just more mainstream fans aren't going to be aware of. So these two dudes, they moved their entire life for the WWE. Not too dissimilar to what happened with Eric Bischoff, how he literally bought a new house, moved from Montana to Connecticut, and then got fired like 3 weeks later. So, but Lance, unlike Eric Bischoff, who's a complete and total cunt, guys like Pat Buck and Lance Storm are good dudes. And Lance Storm closed his entire school. Let his lease run out on his gym because he was expecting to be at the WWE for the rest of his career. And now, he's talking about restarting his school, apparently, or helping out someone else's school. I don't know. The shock of the names alone and who got chosen to get fired is kind of just perplexing. But the funniest thing is, out of all this, is you actually have a pretty great upstart company if you want to go that route. You got some headliners. You got Rusev. You got EC3. You got Mike Kanellis, who's probably, if you're starting a brand new company, I'd say he's the upper mid-card, secondary tier title guy. You got Kurt Angle. You got Sarah Del Rey. You could bring in Lance Storm for some legend stuff. Same with Shane Helms. You got some good cruiserweights in the Colognes, although they're pretty big cruiserweights. Kurt Hawkins. No, not Kurt Hawkins. I mean Heath Slater. Leo Rush. You got a few females if you want to start a women's division. Like, just based off the talent that you just lost today alone, you could literally start an entire promotion. I don't know if that's funny. I don't know if that's sad. I don't know if that's a creative idea that they should all, like, hey, let's just band together and start our own promotion. Fuck this noise. I don't know. But, this is where they are, and things are happening, Marcus. Now, I know a lot of people are avoiding, like, don't start speculating. That's rude. Fuck off. Y'all are speculating if a woman killed her husband on Tiger King. We can fantasy book where we want to see these cats go. Like, these, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 names on this entire list, all these people are going to get hired somewhere else. They're all very talented. And those 3 or 4 people are Hawkins, Ryder, and Slater. Because I legitimately don't see any reason why they were ever hired or fired in the first place. I don't see their value. That's just not something that I can see with my third eye. Marcus, doing a lot of talking, but I do want to do some listening. I want to know your initial thoughts, reactions, if any names really shocked you or if you expected all these names at some point.
I mean, look, man, again, like one of the guys from Reno Scum, shout out to them. I take a little mini, I go offline for a little bit on Twitter, and every damn time I get back on, a damn real life pipe bomb and dropped. And today it was this. And just really, it sucks, to kick things off. People losing their jobs. There's nothing to be, viewed as entertainment from these people losing their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks all the way around. But there's a lot of your sentiments when I looked at the list of people, other than being surprised by Spud and more specifically somebody like Leo Rush, who these guys was, very much still active in. Let's be honest, it wasn't too long ago where it looked like Leo Rush was going to be out of the company anyway. Those two probably stood up, but guys like EC3, like the Colognes. I'm supposed to be flipping over a table over the Colognes. Yeah, it's just a lot of these people, like you said, were either disgruntled, wanting to leave, or, and this goes back to what we've always talked about for the longest, about this company has hoarded talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's hoarded talent for a lot of these guys. They've probably been overpaid to stay.
Yeah.
So when you really look at it, a lot of this was I'm gonna say a mercy killing by any means, but I mean it was overdue. Like kind of like I was saying about the Undertaker style, that Boneyard match. It sucks that it takes like something as serious as a pandemic for this company to actually force its own head out of its ass and do what it probably should have did years ago. Whether it be coming up with a concept to prolong the longevity both physically and character-wise for somebody like Taker, or whether it be letting go of a bunch of talents they wasn't fucking using anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, other than seeing these people legitimately be caught completely out of left field, and God bless Spud, he literally just, put his heart out in a video. Um, Guys like EC3 should have never been there in the first place. He should have never came back.
I mean,
Like I can't, it, nothing. He did nothing.
no.
So
I made a comment, and I want to reiterate it. At this point in your life and career, if you look at the WWE and go, oh, yeah, this is a place I want to go, I no longer have any sympathy for you. If today didn't kill anyone's desire to put themselves before, WWE's money, then I'm no longer going to care if you get fired or if you get fucked over or if your entire legacy is ruined. I'm done. This is the abusive, relationship that you keep going back to. We all see how they treat people. This isn't new. Randy Orton abusing people isn't some new thing. It's been going on for decades. Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie fucking people over, that's not new. For these individuals, I give them a pass because this did just happen. But anyone else that signs after today, you're done to me. Unless you're Steve Borden, I do not give a flying fuckeroni if you sign with the WWE or if you get fired or if you get cut or whatever. You know the risks. You know what you're putting at risk. I no longer have sympathy for people, Marcus, who continually ignore the destructive nature of this company, and I refuse to shed any more thoughts and prayers to anyone who gets fucked over by them. These names excluded. I'm hearing there might be more tomorrow. Those
yeah,
excluded. I mean, anyone who signs from today on will no longer have my sympathy because you
yeah,
know what you're getting into.
yeah. And we already really know where long time listeners know where we kind of stand on. Sometimes, for the most part, Chad will be the bad cop. I'll sometimes play the good cop. But I mean, it's just exactly what you said, man. I mean, again, a lot of times I think a lot of these guys are still in that mindset of that kid that got enamored about some stuff they saw in this company when they was, yay high, and they just so obsessed with the concept of being there, feeling like, being there is how they make it, or they fulfill some type of childhood dream when so much of the writing is on the wall, giving them the middle finger or a finger telling them to turn your ass around and go the other way. And they ignore it, and stuff like this happens. But for a lot of people, it was worth it because they probably seen more money in these useless years of non-activity in terms of character progression than they could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we had that discussion too. If you're gonna take the money, look, at least be the person that stands up and says, "Look, man, I need the money. I want, I got a lavish lifestyle uh, with a poor poor work ethic, and this situation is conducive to making that very viable for me as a person. But you don't get that. You get people coming out and defending the company and talking about how they've helped their family, this, that, and the third. You know the spill. But yeah. Besides people like I think you said was Sarah Amato.
Yeah, Sarah Del
She
Rey.
was Sarah Del Rey. Guys like Finley.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I've been fucking up. Sarah Amato wasn't fired. It was Sarita who was fired. That's who Sarah Stock is. I'm sorry. That's on me.
Okay.
Sarah Stock is Sarita. Remember Sarita from TNA? Her and Thea Trinidad, Rosita were a tag team.
Yeah. Again, once again, hoarded talent.
Yep.
Like I said, there's nothing to be mocked anything about these people losing their jobs. It sucks, and you're gonna have a lot of people, I'm sure, in the wrestling podcast community that's gonna do the boo-hoo and the woe is them and woe is the community for these people going. But I think this is probably gonna be one of the best things for these guys in the long run, whether they know it right now or not. Um, Obviously, like I said, for a lot of them, losing that check is gonna be an adjustment. But to me, I would imagine some people kind of had it in their minds that this can't go on forever. Like I'm literally main eventing catering every night, but I'm getting paid like I am main event mania. Like you gotta imagine that that's not gonna hold up too much weight. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people literally work themselves into their work being denial. But you know, you got to come up with a plan B for situations like this, especially when companies are as fickle in terms of looking out for their talent the complete right way as WWE has not been. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Anybody that signs up for this clearly abusive relationship, you look, man, you know what it is.
Hmm.
All right, but if it means more to you to get the proverbial rub, then you take the what's the line from fences? You take the narrows with the straights.
I think so. So I do want to kind of clear up some of the muck. Storm, Rotunda, Stock, Finley, Helms, Pat Buck, Sean Devari, Scott Armstrong, Lance Storm were not announced as releases on the company's website. Kurt Angle was. Kurt Angle was released. He was not furloughed. By all accounts, from everything that we've read, understand, and know of, Kurt Angle was let go. So I don't know. And here's another thing. With the idea that the WWE is furloughing people, that doesn't actually mean a lot of what people think it means. What furlough does is you're giving people a leave of absence without having to terminate them from your company. That does not mean they will be brought back, though. And that's the other thing. There's no guarantee anyone gets brought back from this. So I don't think people should be quick to jump on that. Well, all these guys are going to be brought back. We don't know that. The WWE literally just let a bunch of people go in the most dramatic releasing of all time. And I've talked to somebody, formerly with the company. Essentially, I was told when a lot of these mass releases used to happen, people would know 2 or 3 or 4 days before it's announced, get your ducks in a row. Very rarely was it done 20 minutes before the press release. As the announcements were coming on WWE.com, people were still being called. So this was very much a vastly different animal. A lot of people
Yeah,
didn't even see this happening.
it it's funny because I was questioning because they released the standards for that vacant cruiserweight championship, and I was looking at some of the names. I'm like, I get these guys obviously in the division, but it felt weird to me that they blatantly just leave out Leo Rush, and
Hmm.
I'm wondering. Obviously, I would imagine this. I wonder how long this has kind of been in the bag with this whole thing, because obviously they've
2
been
days.
gotcha. They've been viewed as essential now. Again, I said it yesterday. I say it again. They're about as essential as a post-birth placenta. But yeah, that's starting to make a lot of sense. And like you said on Twitter, man, that it was bush league the way it was handled. And you could tell like everybody was caught off completely off guard. You got some very raw emotions. I mean, I was even looking at No Way Jose, um, who was kind of felt like he was holding back emotion. But again, he's another one of those talents where he was clearly just a warm body for other bodies
Hmm.
in there. And again, I feel for these people. I really do, because they are now added to the list of millions of people who are right now ass out of work. And I'm hoping that a lot of these guys get picked up, and also, like you said, we can fantasy book it all day. But we called it, man. I think the company knew for a while that they would have had to drop a lot of these guys years prior, but it was convenient for them not to. And of course, a lot of it was done in spite, so they couldn't go anywhere else. Because
Hmm.
God forbid these talents go off and turn into EC3, and then we can bring them back and then punish them for. getting over as a wrestler in spite, despite what they went through with them. So, uh, yeah, it sucks, but I guess we'll get to the Messiah quotes of it all in a bit.
Oh
But
God.
a lot of this stuff, man, it really is just a company, just once again, showing horrible business practices.
Talk about a cunt. So, of all the names, there's a lot of potential here for a lot of for a lot of promotions. You got Rockstar Spud and EC3, and the Canelses I think would be great to go back to Impact. Mike and Maria left because they weren't sure about the new management because they left right at the same time Billy Corgan was ousted and Demore and no, when Jarrett was brought back in, I believe. So there isn't a lot of kind of I don't want to say trust, but they don't know Demore and Callis. Their promotion up the ladder, so to speak, was kind of what led them to leave because they wanted to go someplace where they had trust and ownership. And when you remember that Canellis and his Mike and Maria were there during Dixie's tenure and Billy Corgan's tenure and all that nonsense, then you can kind of understand why they would want a little bit more consistency from more well-known people in that position. But now seeing what Impact's doing, I'm sure that they're like, they got nothing but praise. They only had one big issue, and that was with Killer Cross, and Cross didn't handle it well. So that's not all on them. So I think those four would be prized to go back to
Yeah.
Impact. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, people are like, well, they could go to AEW or New Japan, and frankly, I don't think they have a fit in New Japan anymore. You look at the tag teams in New Japan, and they're a lot better than Anderson and Gallows are. So I don't know where they go. I think Rusev is kind of the belle of the ball. He's just kind of sitting here going, everyone wants me? I wouldn't be surprised if Leo Rush ends up in MLW or back to Ring of Honor. And by the by, for those wondering, Ring of Honor is continuing to pay their talent despite not having any shows. Apparently,
Which is
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, because this was staunchly a completely different conversation. It feels like this time last year, or even earlier this year.
Yes, it was. Katarina, Winter, Katie Lee Burchell, excuse me. She tweeted out that despite not having a full-on contract, just kind of a paid per appearance handshake deal, that Ring of Honor is still honoring the dates she was booked for, despite the fact that she hadn't worked those dates because there was no dates to be working. So they're still paying people, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, I would like to see more than just her tweet because sometimes, there's a clerical error, there's a book error, and sometimes people get paid when they're not supposed to. I don't think that's the case. I'm just with this company and the fact that they're owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, that if that was the case, it wouldn't be that surprising. Like if someone got paid accidentally, I could 100% believe that. I just don't want to believe that. I want to believe that people in Ring of Honor are getting paychecks even though they're not working. I think that would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Look, anything past what we had to have that discussion on, hopefully, and good looking out, and hope somebody like Klein is doing well. Kelly Klein,
Mm-hmm.
because she has a lot. She has far more guts than what she did with Ring of Honor than we see from so many people in WWE. In terms of stepping up to the plate and really, calling that company to task, man, and doing things that they should be doing. And obviously they kind of hung out to dry in a way. I don't know exactly what's going on with her now. Like I said, I hope she's doing fair. But yeah, hopefully that situation taught them something. And considering the fact that they really, I mean, it's no secret they literally were at the bottom of the ring in terms of wrestling relevancy. And they're just completely falling off in terms of losing a lot of what made them watchable and great and distinct to their niche fan base in the first place. So, seeing stuff like this is good, not just because it improves their image, but it just, again, and I think, so obviously going through the Nerdcore Twitter and seeing this from Dave and other people talking about like stuff like that proves that this industry isn't the trash that a lot of times it gets pointed out to be,
Hmm.
touted to be. Stuff like that is good. So, and kudos to her for pointing that out. Because this isn't the time for a company to come out and be like bragging. Well, guess who's still paying their talent? Ha ha ha. So that's cool to see. So good on them.
It should also be noted that every major promotion in Japan, from Stardom, Ice Ribbon, I think is what they're called, Noah, All Japan, New Japan, probably Big Japan, although I don't know if they're considered major anymore. Like basically everyone who has a pulse on Japanese wrestling showed up today in some sort of show of unity to ask the government of Japan to help these smaller promotions out so that they can continue to pay their talent during this whole thing. And it was apparently led by New Japan and Hiroshi Tanahashi. So that's a wonderful, beautiful thing to see Tanahashi, New Japan, and others coming together. And it wasn't just Tanahashi, but he's the one that most of you will know. Like there was people from Noah there, people from All Japan there, and they were all representing Japanese pro wrestling in front of Japanese politicians, and it was a wonderful thing. And that was in part of what Dave Meltzer was talking
Yeah.
about when he talked about how wrestling's not the carny business that people slam it for. So it's a wonderful thing to see, and I wish American promotions would do the same.
Yeah, I mean, look, man. I mean, again, echo your sentiments, 100%. There was more unity, decisiveness, earnestness, and just overall compassion for the human condition in that one photo. I feel like we've had in all of our government in the last 4 or 5 years.
Very possible. So,
So, just to see that, like you said, is beautiful.
so there was another thing that happened today. I'm not going to bring his name up because he's such a hack, but you know who I'm talking about, Marcus. We literally talked about him last night. A journalist who I will not name went around and had the audacity to claim that his website reported when individuals got fired, but only was reporting them after said individual tweeted about it. So, like, if I said at 5 o'clock I got fired at 5:01, they're saying so and so has learned that so and so has been fired, and I'm like, that is some shady shit. And it gets even worse because this individual literally posts a tweet that outright implies NXT is closing. He's terrible at his job. And I need to bring this up. So it says right here, NXT Talent is being provided 30 days of pay and then are free to do whatever they want. Marcus, if I said to you that you will be given 30 days of pay and then you'll be free to go and do whatever you want, that sounds like I'm firing you, doesn't it?
Looks like the boot to me.
Now, NXT is not being shuttered, to the best of my knowledge. Although the individual I talked to today about it said that it's very likely that some NXT talent will be let go tomorrow as opposed to today because some of them may have to work tonight, or some of them will be given the opportunity to work tonight to get one last paycheck, or some of them are close friends with people who are set to work tonight and they don't want to disrupt performances. I don't know if that's true. That was a speculation. That was a speculative comment given to me, but it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen something like this happen. So, to the best of my knowledge, NXT's not going anywhere. I haven't seen anyone talking about NXT being shut down, but you can see right here, 1,351 likes as of 5:05 p.m. This isn't me. This isn't like some up and comer or some person who in the wrestling landscape doesn't have that big of a following. This is a major writer who runs a major website who put out a tweet that said NXT talent is provided 30 days of pay and then are free to do whatever they want, and did not clarify what he meant for at least 2 hours. And people in the comment section were like, are you saying NXT is being shut down or NXT talent being fired? Can you explain? And he didn't, because he's bad at his job. Now, you could say, literally, any NXT talent let go today will be provided 30 days of pay and then are free to do whatever they want. That right there is like an extra 3 words, and considering the length of tweets these days, it's not impossible to fit that all in. So this is bad journalism. And the problem with this is the individual at hand was doing individual write-ups of each release in order to further monetize and profit off of the issues of others. I think that's a pretty deplorable thing, but then again, this individual sucks at life and has a lot of issues, and this is someone who really isn't good at his job, and honestly, quite frankly, is bad for the industry. When you can't even get the right names right, or if you have editors on your own site and you're the owner of the site and your editors are correcting your work, you clearly don't belong in that position. So as of right now, I brought this up because I'm sure a lot of people have seen it by now. NXT talent, to the best of my knowledge, are not being mass fired. So that's at least a good thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another 5 or 10 names mentioned tomorrow. I read somewhere, I don't know how accurate this is, that 40% of the entire company will be laid off or furloughed to some degree. Well, if that's the case, there's still more talent coming. There's still more talent firings coming. I do know for a fact that a few WB Network employees were let go. I do know for a fact that a bunch of writers were let go. I do know for a fact that there were some production crew that were let go. But, if you have 500 wrestlers, you probably have another 100 or so who work at the network, probably another 200 or so who work at the home office. God knows how many others that work, as support roles for the company during tours. You're probably looking at 1,000 people at the very least, if not more. It means about 400 people are going to be fired if that 40% is true. Now, I don't know it's true. And I don't trust the person who said it. That doesn't mean that person is wrong, though. If Dave Meltzer said it, I would be like, yeah, that's probably true. But I saw a lot of people with accurate information today that I didn't know, that I couldn't verify as substantial or truthful, who were getting things right. So right now, I'm just kind of throwing my hands up in the air and say it's probably true. That WWE's going to lay off or furlough at least 40% of their roster and employees. So a lot of people got fired today that we're not talking about.
Oh my God! Look, the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's so much journalistic credibility and thrown into the wind like whatever that essence was in Lion King that Rafiki was messing with. Anyway,
bath salts.
Exactly. Yeah,
we all know Rafiki was on bath salts. That dude was singing about squash bananas. Come on.
Oh, Rafiki, he knows the way to more bath salts.
Simba, he's alive. I need more bath salts.
Hey, man. You used to be on that bath salt stuff, didn't you? It doesn't matter. It's in the bath. I'm like, it's some on your nose.
Are you still on some of that bath salts? It does not matter. It's in the past. When was the last time you took some? It does not matter. It's in the past. No, seriously, when was it? Like 2 minutes ago. I'm going to be tripping hardcore. That's why Rafiki was so good with the goddamn hyenas, man. He's like, he was tweaking.
Yeah, that's the like that phase 2 drunken monkey fist. But,
bath salt monkey fist.
But yeah, again, you would imagine that when we talk about, again, referencing all that whole talent, a lot of that's in that performance center. I think I saw somewhere you brought it up on our talks that they were almost run out of lockers for people down there. Yeah, got so many people down there. So you imagine a lot of this fat that they're in the process of trimming will be down there, and it really sucks for them. A lot of those guys are waiting just to potentially get on NXT, which again, may not be a secure thing depending on how that entire structure is set with pay or potential job security, whatever have you. So that definitely sucks. But you're right, man. I mean, despite a lot of people, again, not just in the wrestling sphere, but across all forms of entertainment when it comes to people, reporting, it's a lot of times about being first instead of 100% accurate. So, but what sucks now is, like you said, going through the NerdCorp Twitter feed, so much stuff is when probably so much probability to it that is, because I think even you tweeted, he was like, imagine the people we don't know about yet, or the people that's been cut that we probably not gonna know about unless
Mm-hmm.
something set. Like you said, writers, producers, a lot of more other people, the network people. I would imagine of the digital people. Those titles that sound more important than they actually are, getting dropped. So it sucks. And then when it comes to, like you said, guys who should not be named, it's even worse because, as we know as longtime Impact fans, sometimes the way a lot of these shit situations go, a lot of these guys end up finding out when we do,
Yeah.
in the ways that we do, which is on social media. So that sucks even worse that they, shout out to Anthony Bones who talk about like the people who continue to go out and, potentially risk people, like 100% complicit in this coronavirus. So all these shitty journalists that, just kind of want to continue to fan the flames, even if, there isn't an actual fire depending on the whatever they're spewing at the time. So, it's either mildfinding making it worse or, something to the contrary. But again, it's very easy in this community, specifically around the WWE pool, to gaslight so many of these fans. They're easily waved, and a lot of them, unfortunately, as we alluded to last night, are probably taking this even harder than some of these wrestlers are.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of easy to wave them around on social media because they probably, just 100% upset anyway.
So there was some funny that came out of today, mostly because of Shane Helms.
Mm-hmm.
I think he tweeted something to the effect like, I shouldn't have answered my phone today.
About what? But shout out to JTG. The tweet was so good, but cringe. I didn't want to tweet it. Like I was like, oh,
Wait,
if you
which
don't,
one? Which JTG quote?
if you don't answer your phone, you can't get it back.
Oh yeah. Well, at
It's
one
like,
point, 411 Mania, who they do all right. No, I don't consider them on a shit list. They're mostly like a review reactionary type of website. They tweeted out Shane Helms has been let go in a tweet, but they said Shane Helm has been let go. And Shane Helms replies with, "Damn, I get fired and lost the S on the end of my name. What a fucking day." And I appreciated that. I appreciated someone who could find the humor in a very depressing day, because laughing is what's going to get you through any bad day. To the point where Christopher Titus, do you know who Christopher Titus is, the comedian?
no.
He's a very, very good comedian. Talks a lot about dysfunctional families, which, I'm from one, so I relate. He's doing a live comedy special on like May 12th or May 9th or something like that. And, it's done in the hopes of bringing in some people a little bit of humor during these down times. I think it's going to broadcast for free. So like on like YouTube, I think. So it's like it's all for a good cause, if it's for a cause at all, just make people laugh. So anyway, finding humor in these moments, and especially this time period, is so necessary that I applaud someone like Shane Helms who can bring a bit of levity to such a situation. But I don't begrudge anyone who can't. Like No Way Jose and Rockstar Spud. Man, like MJ Jenkins tweeted out something similar to what Spud said, only a bit briefer, essentially saying, this was my dream job, and now because of something I couldn't control, I'm out, and that sucks. And I want to be very clear: most of these talents, I thought at one point or another, should have been released for a variety of reasons, and it's one of those things where if this was Monday, if this was last Tuesday, I would have been fine with it, honestly. I understand that the WWE wants to protect their profit margins. I understand that WWE does not actually care about their talent. I'm not new to who they are. If everyone is at home going, I can't believe they did this, how despicable. Of course you can believe. Have you not been paying attention? Owen Hart died in the ring, and they're like, nah, we're going to keep doing the show. We're going to then not even keep doing the show. We're going to show up for Monday and keep doing that show. And then we're not going to cancel any shows, and then we're just going to keep going on like nothing happened. Vince McMahon, according to Jimmy Snuka, and Jimmy Snuka did kill his girlfriend at the time, mistress. So I would imagine Jimmy Snuka is a pretty good source of information. Jimmy Snuka even believed to the day he died that Vince McMahon bribed the Pennsylvania sheriff's office and well, not Pennsylvania, but the city of Pennsylvania that he did this. I forget what it is, like Harrisburg or something like that. He believes that Vince McMahon paid off a local judge and police department to keep Jimmy Snuka from being imprisoned for the death of Nancy Argentino back in the 80s. If you don't think Vince McMahon could have done something like this, you're an idiot. Or you're new. And if you're new, I'm not gonna come at you. Like if you show up and the dog bites you and you just met the dog, how are you supposed to know you just met the dog? And there's clearly no signs that says, warning, dog bites everyone. But if you've been hanging around for years and you didn't think he could do this, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Or you could be, that combined combination, new idiot, in which case you're one of those people who sees the beware dog sign, but only heeds it if you see the dog.
Yeah, that's fair. But I say all that to say this. Like I said, if this was last Tuesday, Marcus, I wouldn't have a problem with this. This is just an unfortunate situation. But to do it the day after you spent $12.5 million on a super PAC for a re-election campaign that Governor DeSantis, the governor of Florida, seems to be a very big proponent of, you give $12.5 million to a government super PAC. And then all of a sudden, DeSantis says, oh, yeah, pro wrestling is definitely part of the essential businesses in Florida. And then you fire everyone? And, oh, by the by, I think it's Dave Meltzer who said this, but I might be wrong on who said this. But it's being said that all these firings, Marcus, will save them a whopping $4 million.
Yeah, but between that, because look, between WrestleMania, I guess we could look at the XFL as a separate personal expense. Although
because the WWE actually put money into it, so we can't.
So there's that.
The WWE lost $35 million on the XFL alone. That's not including Vince McMahon and anyone else locally within McMahon's sphere that gave money as well. The WWE alone lost $35 million on the XFL. And that's not even counting the $120 million that Vince McMahon used to startup capital. So, yeah.
It's funny, and I just thought about this when you were listening to all these talents and talking about had this come before. You wouldn't have been upset about it. I said it's kind of eerily ironic that, again, even though obviously it's a cost-cutting measure, a lot of these, you got to believe that a lot of these guys will let go. Specifically looking at who they were in terms of their relevancy on the roster. So they didn't have to look at guys like Styles.
Oh, yeah.
Or God forbid a Brock or other guy. And it's funny because yet again, even in them getting fired, they're still used as fodder to help these other guys. So even on their way out, they jobbing.
ABJ, always be jobbing.
Always be jobbing, which again is almost the vintage WWE. But yeah, I mean, you was looking at again going through the Twitter because you did a great job of just compiling so many different things that told so many different sides of this story. But I think it was also Meltzer that said that, like you said, it was a cost cutting measure. It didn't necessarily have to do it, but again, this is about saving money. I would imagine that Vince is sitting somewhere spewing about the XFL. But again, it's oddly weird too, because it's almost, you talk about they should have been let these talents go, because they held on to them. They almost had them like in the old Game Boy Advance games where you had like too many Pokemon in your party.
Mm-hmm.
You got like, oh no, I'm gonna just hold on to them in case I need somebody that has a move like disable or something like that or whatever. Then you get this new brand spanking thing or something comes up and you got to let them go. So yeah, again, like you said, this is a company. Hirings happen, but the way things go down in this company, people finding out last minute, people putting out these heartfelt messages and they releasing that, and then people probably still feeling like their job security, and then they getting a call like just, and this is after you've told these people that wasn't essential for them to show up, but that we need to get back to live taping. and just under the assumption that nothing's gonna happen because everybody's gonna be safe, right? Like we keep these numbers low, we check your temperature. I didn't hear nobody sneeze or cough. We're fine. We're fine. So, oh man, this
That's the crux of it.
uh, such a bowl of BS stew, man.
If they had canceled WrestleMania markets, if they didn't do any tapings and they made all these cuts, I'd be fine with it. Like it would suck. It would suck and it would be depressing and it would be awful. But I wouldn't be outraged about it. If you're not working for 6 weeks and you know you might not be working for another 6 to 12 weeks or even months, you're gonna make hard choices. I get that. But they ran WrestleMania. They're doing live TV tapings. They're putting their talent at risk. They just got declared as essential, and then they went and fired half the goddamn roster. That's skeezy as hell, man. So the other big thing is apparently now I don't know, finance is not my thing. Contract law, legal law. I'm really good at understanding contracts and legalities. Financials, I'm fucked with. I don't. Math hurts my head.
Same
So
here.
I don't know to what degree this means, but essentially Dave Meltzer saying to the effect like they had $500 million in some type of asset combination, like not just like combination of money, but also like standing property value. Like, basically, they had about $500 million that they could play with to various degrees. Some of that may have been loan debt that has not yet to be used. Like if you go and you get like a $25,000 loan, but you only use $18,000, you still have that $7,000 left over, but it's still a loan. So like that may be some of it, but essentially that they had plenty of money, that they weren't going bankrupt, that they could easily still make all their bills and still have money left over. His point was that they have $500 million in however much asset, in however you want to quantify it, and that the move wasn't done to stop hemorrhaging, and the moves weren't done because they were, dangerously low on funds. Dave Meltzer specifically said the moves were done to ensure profitability for the quarter. Basically saying so that even though they didn't get all their gobs of money at WrestleMania and all that nonsense, that they would still make or break even for the quarter in terms of money, so that way the investors in the company could be happy. Like, that's all it was. And the funny thing is somebody pointed out that Goldberg was allegedly paid $4 million for his time at Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not going to begrudge Bill Goldberg. I love Bill Goldberg. He's one of my favorites. If they were given another $4 million to do a match on Raw tomorrow, I'd watch because I love Goldberg. But when you think about that, they get $4 million for Goldberg to wrestle at Saudi Arabia, then fired 18, 20 wrestlers who in totality would cost the company around $4 million. It does kind of make you just go, yeah, this company's the skis bags. Like, obviously. You could just not book Brock Lesnar for a month and these guys could fucking work. But
Can't do that.
Nope,
We need him. We love him.
Yep, he's the ratings guy. So it's just like this whole thing's skis, man. It's so terrible. And on one hand, I'm still very much against AEW and Impact running TV shows. But on the other hand, if them running TV shows allows them to get people jobs and to keep people working so people don't get fired or let go, while I still don't like it, Marcus, at least it's better than what the WWE is doing, where they're still having people show up and still firing them.
They just look, man. I get it that people are. This is their thing. This is their career. This is their whole thing. This is what's propping up their life and their lifestyle. And for a lot of people, they don't have plan Bs, like we see with a lot of athletes. Um, but it's that whole I'm gonna just wait till this thing 100% affects me, like grabs a mom or uncle or grandfather, or even somebody even closer to me than that, before I really start taking this thing seriously. It's like, again, we talked about last night. If there was ever a time for this damn roster to band together and be like, yo, you old fart, no, okay, like no, like that's like this is literally life or death. We obviously have seen how you've done with it post mortem, but we're not trying to get to that point. So like you need to find something else to do, like because it's again keep saying it, and it's already happened. It's probably happened more than we've been privy to. All it's gonna take is one person. getting this thing.
Marcus, I was just about to say it doesn't even need to be the roster. If it's Roman Reigns or John Cena saying, Vince, stop it, oh my God, things would change dramatically, especially if they went public. What's Vince gonna do? Fire John Cena? He doesn't have the balls. He wouldn't fire Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's putting them in liability issues with potential lawsuits. So if they're not going to fire him, they're not firing John Cena. You're 100% right, man. You're 100% right.
All it's gonna take, and you know the irony that it would be if the person that ended up getting it was him, because he is at the age, despite how he may be physically, well, we know his quads ain't worth a damn, but despite, he's still in his upper 70s. This is what this whole thing is targeting. He's in that range. So if he was the one that got it, the irony would be just almost sadly amusing in a lot of ways, because you got to know he's spearheading so much of this stuff.
He's 74.
Yeah. I mean, he's right there. I mean, we've people in their 40s and even younger than that is out of here. Mm-hmm. So, but man, it's like I said, there was ever time for this roster to stand up. And again, going back to, like you said, they're getting rid of people like this to justify the Goldbergs and the Takers and the Lesnars, who's, I can only imagine their combined salary is just literally got to be the literal definition of F-ton. That's instead of an actual dollar amount, just F-ton. So, yeah, man, just the execution of this is piss poor. And the fact that they're going to do this, you got the entire litany of their company mourning this debacle, and then you're gonna ask them to get to work this week. And despite all that, like, keep going, like, show must go on. Like, we don't stop for bodies and we don't stop for firings. So they go out there and smile.
It's reflective of an attitude in today's society, specifically during the coronavirus outbreak, where there are people who are actively saying, I would rather die from COVID-19 than not work. I'm not a bad guy, Marcus. I'm, like you said, the bad cop. I'm unfiltered, but I'm honest. But I'm not the kind to wish death on people. I don't want you to die, Vince McMahon. I want you in prison for the crimes against humanity you've caused. But I don't want you to die. But there's that little part of me that goes, people who think that way, that I would rather die than get the coronavirus, those are the people that need to die for people to understand that this isn't a fucking joke. That, no, we didn't overreact. We didn't underprepare or overprepare. We've managed to negate this thing only because we've been following the guidelines. If Dana White or Vince McMahon got this, then all of a sudden the entire, rising swell of, well, we have a right to work would be done, because all of a sudden you would start to realize that your allies are no longer sitting here saying the same thing. I don't want people to die from this. I'm reading horror stories of what this does when it takes you that far. And it's depressing. It's disturbing. It is sad. I don't want anyone to die from this, but people are going to. And I don't know why people are so hesitant to just lay back and relax for a little while. Like, let's be chill about this. So for me, it comes down to a simple understanding that if guys like Vince McMahon are going to keep putting their town or their businesses in danger, you better be fucking there. Because if I find out Vince McMahon's not at these fucking shows every goddamn day, and I'm one of those talents, I'm fucking filing a lawsuit and I'm done. I don't care if it blackballs me from the industry. I don't care if it doesn't go anywhere. I don't care if I blow my entire fortune or if I'm in debt, $1 million afterwards. I'm going for someone's goddamn jugular because it's not right. So, with all that being said, it's an unfortunate set of situations. It's not a good thing, but A lot of this talent's going to be fine. And Marcus, I'm going to make a bold prediction. When EC3 was first released, he was Derek Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
He had this kind of flamboyant dude bro pro-American gimmick where he came out in like American flag gear and American flag shirt and always talked about how cool America was. He was basically Mr. America kind of guy. Well, he found his voice as EC3 when he went to TNA, and then it became Impact, and then he became Ethan Carter III, and he showed up and did a funny ass fucking promo where he's like, "There's better be a tiger," and then he walks out into this green screen and there's a tiger chilling there. Like, it was cool as hell. And he found his voice, and he found an entire new set of fans. But oftentimes we see guys like Sean Spears, Cy Dillinger, they essentially just kind of migrate over to a new promotion, but they don't really lose what they were within their previous stops, and they don't seem to net any type of big total improvement. So I think when you look at this crop of crew that have just been let go, I think the guys that you're going to be looking at who might make a huge name for themselves aren't going to be the EC3s or the Luke Gallows or the Eric Youngs. My prediction, assuming guys like EC3 and for the former CJ Parker. Remember when Juice Robinson was CJ Parker?
Mm-hmm.
I think the name that comes out of this, the best, because it gives them a complete opportunity to reinvent himself, is No Way Jose. We know he's charismatic. We know he has a likability. But now he'll have an opportunity to change his entire mystique into something different. And if he's able to nail that character change, I think he's going to be coming out of this like the next Juice Robinson or EC3, the guy who was basically lost in a go-nowhere gimmick who finds that next gear. Whatever that gear is, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you because, look, again, he's the perfect example, Juice Robinson, because I didn't have an F to give about the guy when he was CJ Robinson. Then he went to New Japan. It's like, he freaking stumbled upon an Infinity Stone or something. But, yeah, I can. It's wide open now. I'm looking at guys like him, Rush, EC3. That was a great video he dropped. It's almost like he's had that in the can for a while, but clearly it's fresh.
I didn't see that video. I'll have to take an eye out or keep an eye out.
Yeah, he posted a great little video. Spud, I was like that, and Rusev.
Oh yeah,
Look at to do something big. He's just been chomping. He's essentially been home. Lana seen more action in the past few months. Whether it be
you mean Blackshin?
I know it. Go ahead. I'll do it. She's seen a lot of black activity.
Paranormal blacktivity.
But yeah, so I'm looking at guys like that. And in terms of where they go, like I said, obviously they're all places to go, and you got Ring of Honor, the AEWs, MLWs, NWA. For me, just because, like I said, I think I've really enjoyed, and I got to watch Tuesday's show, but really been thoroughly enjoying these Impact tapings.
Mm-hmm.
They have just had a very consistent amount of cohesion in terms of these storylines. And it's really been great. And it's really felt like everybody that they've had on these shows have really had a place to fit in. Not like they were just hanging out for no reason. I don't want them to just grab up a bunch of people. I don't even know if they're in a position to do so. But, if they could get, maybe Mike and Maria, Spud and EC3, but kind of let that be it. I don't think they should necessarily, because I don't want them to mess up the flow that they got going right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because past regime is like, oh, we're going to get this guy. We're going to, they'll slap the belt on him. He's going to reinvent himself. He's going to do the next big thing, even though he was promised to be that in the other company. We're going to, slap some new paint on him. I know it's kind of, if you can integrate some guys, get, like I said, a strong 4 or 5, integrate them into what's going on. Don't make them, insert them over the guys that's been working all these tapings and putting in the work. Do stuff like that. But, yeah, it's going to be places for these guys to work. Some people will go to Japan because I think that's a bright spot for a lot of people. And if they can do that in terms of how their life is, because I know obviously they're going back and forth as hell, as we've seen with the Bucks and Styles and others, but that's gonna be. I mean, we saw what it did for Kenta, so if they got so much of that WWE stink to get off them, I think New Japan is probably one of the quickest places to immediately thrust them into. Specifically, if the next thing that New Japan does once this kind of settles down is going into a version of the G1.
Mm-hmm.
That that'll be a real quick and I'm not gonna say painless way because that's the last thing it's gonna be, but a really good way of immediately getting a lot of that stink off you. So yeah, but if No Way Jose, um, that'll just be the ultimate middle finger. So I'm hoping he's that guy to do the EC3, the McIntyre of it all. I saw somebody post like Heath Slater go away, get bulk, then come back 3 years later to be WWE champion. I'm like, don't remind us agenda, you a-hole. Uh,
Expect more. That's all I'll say. Expect more. Hope for less. Some of these names, like you mentioned, I think would do very well in Japan. Rusev, if Anderson goes back. I was never a fan of Luke Gallows, but Anderson I think is a good style for them. I could probably see Aiden English maybe going to Japan because they do have kind of that soft spot for comedic guys, and I think he could probably fit in there. Maybe even Eric Rowan. I could see Eric Rowan going to All Japan and being very successful. I think the Colognes will end up following Carlito back to Puerto Rico. That seems like a pretty obvious place for them to end up. But, as far as the rest goes, it'll be very interesting. And I know, what's Eric? Is that it? Or Ivar? I don't know. Fucking Ray Rowe. It's Ray Rowe. Ray Rowe, or no. Did Sarah Logan marry Ray Rowe? Did Sarah Logan marry Hanson?
I think she married the one with the.
If you say the white guy with the beard, I'm slapping you.
Damn it! It was. She married. Well, what was one of the names? Hyman? I don't know.
I think it's Eric and Ivar.
Eric and Ivar. I don't know. I want to say it's because Roe was the bald one, so I think it's Hanson. I want to say it's Hanson.
So she married the big white bald, the big white bearded, no tattoo guy.
Is it Hanson or Rowe? God damn it!
Because Ray Rowe has all the tattoos.
It's Rowe. It's
okay.
Raymond Rowe.
Okay.
So that's the bald one with the tattoos.
Okay, the bald one. I don't know where Sarah Logan goes. I think she was Crazy Mary Dobson beforehand, and she was getting a lot of play on the indies. So maybe she goes back to that. I really liked the Crazy Mary Dobson stuff. She was making a lot of leeway and headway with that, but when she got to WWE, like a lot of these talents, she just got lost in the shuffle.
And let's be clear, like you said, this is just what we got today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow could be much, and just because of how things go, like people will look down on them even more if they like drop a bunch of women just for whatever narrative that serves. But they cutting talent across the board. And if you think there was a lot of fat to trim on the men's side, to me it's equal on the women's side as well. So your favorite might get cut, but this is kind of what it is. I mean, we see a lot of in these companies, a lot of couples are together. Mm-hmm. In the same company, they just ended NXT with I can spoil Chad on this. He's not just gonna waste his time on it anyway. They basically just did an angle where freaking Cross attacked. He basically laid out Ciampa, and they did this great thing, and like he felt like he got attacked by a monster, and all they showed you was Bordeaux's boots. And so that's the thing. But yeah, Sarah, Ruby might be one of them. We don't know. Like we know who's protected, right?
No,
It's never gonna be Charlotte. It's never gonna be Banks and Bailey.
It might be Banks, because apparently she's unhappy again. Then again, I think that's her preset mode.
That's a gimmick. At this point, that's a gimmick, because she's coming out with an album that might just be a big ass diss track. For all we know. But yeah, it starts with the no-brainer of Charlotte, and then goes. I feel like somebody like Natty is a lifer.
Well, see, like normally I would agree with you, but I thought the same thing about
Yeah.
Zack Ryder.
Oh, yeah. If for nothing else, and they counted on him to buy all their merch.
That would be an interesting financial study. How much merchandise sales that the WWE made every single year was to Zack Ryder? And you know what? I'm not going to bust on the guy for it. If he's still collecting WWE merchandise, that's fine. And I think
Yeah.
anyone who kind of gives people shit for that is, I think that's a shitty thing to do. Like Ethan Page collects Marvel action figures still. I don't blame him. If I had the financials, maybe I would still do the same thing with DC. But when I was a kid collecting action figures, they were like $6. Now they're like 20. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you, please. So, we are. That's all we got for tonight. If there is more, there very well could be more tomorrow. We'll update on ComicCorp. We'll do a twofer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we'll talk more about this come next week. We're with the lack of shows and stuff, we're only doing one show a week instead of two for Wrestling Underground. So it's kind of going to be, Marcus, the next few days are going to be dependent on what's been going on. We'll determine when we go back on the air. If we don't get any more news after today, we'll just go next Tuesday. If we do, we'll go on Sunday. And if there's more tonight, tomorrow, we'll do kind of a lead into ComicCorp. So.
Yeah, 100%. And real quick shout out to Zach, man. I know people are used to hearing you and the musical silence of Thackeray Binks. But shout out to Zach, man. It's working. Hope he's out there being safe and whatnot.
Well, he's working from home.
But yeah,
so he is.
well, yeah, well, even better. Because a lot of people can't even do that. So kudos to him. But yeah, I'm pretty sure making an impact will be back in effect coming up. Again, at least we're still able to enjoy that. They haven't. It's weird going through, feel like a calendar, almost halfway through a calendar year, not getting no kerfuffle from Impact. That's good. Feels good.
For now.
So
hopefully they stay the course.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole the Tesla thing. But
So here's the text exchange between me and Zach from earlier today. Working late tonight, not going to be able to do the show. So I reply, as the courteous, good friend that I am, understanding and attentive to the needs of my friends. I reply with, whore! Then I go on to say, sorry, that was rude. I meant you slut. And then he and I exchanged a few more texts about WB cutting like 40 individuals today. So that's the way, if we ever get an HR department, I'm going to be so screwed.
Yeah, I can just imagine Zach tweeting back. Not the colognes, man. Anybody but the colognes, man.
I said EC3 is one of them. He goes, I kind of thought he would be. So you're not wrong there, Marcus. So tomorrow, me and Marcus are covering the. It's an arc of The Boys. It's one of the last three. Technically only two because the third arc is only one issue. So it's the second last major arc of The Boys comic series. By the way, I rewatched all of the series again. The only episode I think is stagnant is the second one when they are trying to get the information out of the invisible guy, Translucence.
Yeah.
That's the only one I think is slow. And still, that line from Butcher in episode 1, Translucence doesn't even mean invisible, you fucking idiot. It means semi-transparent. Like such.
By the way, that was a science lesson, real quick.
Yes, yes. The whole I was watching him on Jimmy Fallon, so I knew that his skin was conductible. And Butcher just goes, eh.
No, I'm jealous. Now I got to feel like I got to do it now, because I want to catch. I want to do like a back-to-back thing. I want to catch the CWC Deathstroke and follow that with the new Mortal Kombat that just dropped.
Ooh.
So yeah.
What outlet is that new Mortal Kombat animated series on?
Anime. I know it dropped digitally.
Oh, it's like DVD.
Yeah,
Okay.
and no, so well, the CU website that's pretty much free. Um, so yeah,
I'll have to check that out. All right. Well, so tomorrow we're talking about that. I'll talk about Resident Evil Revenge. I think is what it was called. I think it was Revenge, or something like that. We'll talk about that as well as some other things happening in the world of comics and comic book related things and sci-fi and all that. So tune in tomorrow, Thursday, 9 p.m. Twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. If we have anything else to talk about wrestling wise, we'll go live on this Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. Then we'll stop recording, switch over profiles, and start up at the ComicCorp side of things. So that's what we'll do tomorrow. That way I can just export the videos to YouTube without any fuckery needed. So that's all I got for you guys today. Marcus can be found on his Twitter account at ParadoxKid, ParaDoxKid. That's ParaDoxKid.
that is me.
He's the Paradox Kid. You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, at True Penny Show on Twitter, TruePennyShow. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, Chadsphotohut. The website's realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdcorp.com. We're also on Podbean at realnerdcorp.podbean.com. So whether you're tuning in for Wrestling Underground, Making an Impact, ComicCorp, whatever Ohio Guys production we got going on for this week, which this week is our second episode, and our last episode of the Devils in the Details podcast, which is reviewing Reaper, which you can watch for free on abc.com. It only had 2 seasons, but they were really good seasons. All those podcasts are on Podbean at realnerdcorp.podbean.com, or if you want to download them to a mobile device so you can listen to them on your social distancing jogs, you can do so by downloading the Podbean app and then subscribing to Real Nerd Corp on the Podbean service. So with all that being said, we're done for tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow for a different set of things to talk about. As always, stay safe, stay far apart. Don't be stupid. And as always, watch more wrestling. Marcus, take us home.
Stay inside me.